What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise post-game show. This game did not go as I hoped. The Blazers have a massive letdown after a great win against the Lakers. They don't sweep this LA series. Going into this, I would have been okay with 1-1, but it is a bit frustrating to see some promise 2 days ago against the Lakers, where the Blazers played their best all-around game of this young season. It does suck to see them take backward steps tonight. We'll go over what went wrong, what the differences were between that Lakers game and now this Clippers blowout loss, and we'll go into some of the things the team needs to do going forward to improve things. It'll be a lot of what we've said before, but you got to try and look at this 23-point loss and see where you can improve if you're the team, and that's what we will try and do. Welcome into the post-game show. Thank you everybody for tuning in despite what was a very rough loss. We'll get into the defense because the defense was horrible tonight. The Clippers shoot 18 for 38 from the three-point line. That's almost 50%. That's 18 three-point makes. Just terrible three-point defense all game long. There really wasn't any adjustment on that end. The offense didn't really get going. Damian Lillard struggled. He was smothered all night and pretty much couldn't get a clean look. You had Nurkic playing a poor game. You had some guys that just failed to step up. Carmelo Anthony came back and had a good offensive performance, but I still don't think that you can pair him with Enes Kanter on the bench. I think he needs to be paired a little bit more with Nurkic. Had a lot of Melo fans saying I was a Melo hater for stating that, but I definitely want to see Melo play more next to Nurk and Kanter play more next to a guy like a Robert Covington or Derrick Jones Jr. We'll touch on that, and I'm sure we will have a heated debate with some people in chat over that type of stuff. Other than that, this is the Blazers go to Golden State and have 2 games in a row. I think those are 2 games they should win. If they can come out of this 4-2, I'm happy with that, but this would have been a huge win to build on the momentum from last game, and the Blazers did not end up getting it done. So, yeah, man, Eric, what do you think was the biggest problem in this game? I want to start on what your biggest grievance was in terms of the basketball that the Blazers played tonight.
So I mentioned this last post game. I'm worried whenever we have success that becomes the norm. You know what I mean? So, for example, last game, our defensive scheme worked really well against the Los Angeles Lakers, right? Mm-hmm. The Los Angeles Clippers have a completely different style of attack, completely different team, a completely different game plan. You can't just use the same game plan because it worked against the Lakers and think it's going to work against every team. They shot the ball incredibly well tonight from 3. The Lakers did not shoot well from 3, at least after the initial run where KCP had a few at the beginning of the game. But my problem is we just think, oh, we've solved it. We've solved our defense. We figured it out. We can just play like this, and it will lead to success on the defensive end. And that is not how you play defense. You have to adapt your game plans. Every single game, every single run or quarter, you have to switch something up when the other team is going, like, I think they started 7 of 8 from 3 or 8 of 9 at one point. And, like, if that happens during the game, yeah, it could be because the defense is, or the offense is just hitting threes or whatever, but you have to find a way to run them off the 3-point line. You cannot continue to give them look after look after look and continue to get hot and go that hot from 3 for an entire game. Like, you have to decide at some point, we need to overplay the 3-point line and force them to drive. They might give up a few easier buckets that way, but at least you're not giving up 7 out of 8 threes to start the game and being out of it before you even have a chance to really play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not unhappy with the game plan, like, going in, right? Okay, we're going to try this defense, I mean, against the Clippers have players that enjoy playing against drop scheme, and you saw that tonight, Kawhi is able to make good use out of that space. He's a really good mid-range shooter, so if you give up that mid-range, he'll take it, and he'll make a living off of it. Reggie Jackson got his floater going. You had Lou Williams get some easy open mid-range shots that he likes, and then you had them getting open 3-point looks off the screen and roll, and honestly, I think the biggest thing that led to open 3-point looks was guys were just getting downhill off the pick and roll. That's what happens when you drop the big. It allows a ball handler to get ahead of steam because there's no resistance once he comes off the screen. And he was getting downhill at the big, and either the big was dropping so much that the ball handler was able to get, an open mid-range shot or a floater, or the big would play up just enough for the ball handler to blow by him, draw in more of the defense, and then kick out to guys for open threes. You had a couple possessions where a guy defending a wing off the ball tried to kind of shade over and help with the pick and roll since the big wasn't up, and the ball handler was going to have an open three off the dribble off the pick and roll, and the ball handler just kicked it to the guy, kicked it to the guy who was being helped off of, and they got open threes that way. So it was basically just the scheme. They started picking it apart. And here's my issue, man. Like, I understand, okay, if drop scheme is our staple, I understand going into a game with that. But how in the world do you let a team play this well offensively and you fail to make a single adjustment throughout the entire game? That is mind-boggling to me. I think that is a bit unacceptable. And that kind of goes back to what we've stated numerous times last season, numerous times this offseason, and just over and over again is Stotts needs to be better at adapting on the fly and adjusting within the course of a game. He did not make a single adjustment defensively this entire game. And honestly, I think it got worse because the first 4 minutes or so, Nurkic was playing up pretty far on the screen. They weren't able to really turn the corner and get downhill. But about after that, he started dropping more and more, and they started picking it apart. If our defense is that bad, what does it really hurt to try something else? To maybe trap something. Maybe you force turnovers and get some quick buckets and change momentum and get back in the game quickly, considering they were down 15 to 20 points almost the entire game, and maybe you get some stops that way. Sure, they might score, but they're scoring anyways. They're on fire anyways. They're completely comfortable. You cannot let a team like the Clippers get the looks they got without adjusting. I think that's ridiculous because they got very comfortable within the course of the game because we gave them open shots due to our scheme early on. And then we didn't switch up our scheme. They were comfortable playing against it. So then, once a team gets comfortable, then they start making more contested shots. Then they have a rhythm, they have comfort, so you can contest a shot, but the whole team has a rhythm, is comfortable, they're going to knock those down. You got to change things up to take them out of their comfort zone and try something else defensively to potentially stop them instead of just sitting back. It's almost as if Terry Stotts just sat back and was like, well, they're just making shots, nothing I can do. No, adjust, do something, try something else other than pounding against a brick wall, trying the same thing that they're obviously exploiting time and time again. That's my biggest grievance this game is how do you not adjust when the Clippers are picking apart our defense this well? It's kind of ridiculous to me.
And it's not even just adjusting defensive schemes, it's putting the same rotations out and time again, not go with the defensive lineup or do something, mix up your personnel. Don't always bring the same people in at the same time and play the same four guys with CJ and the same four guys with Dame and do all this stuff. If it's not working, try something different. In the second half of this game, we're down by 30. Why are we not letting Giles have a shot in those situations or something like that? And it's just someone needs to do something different when we are struggling this bad. This is now dating back to the preseason. We've gotten absolutely blown out and haven't even shown up for 4 out of our last 6 games. And I thought maybe we were turning the corner after last game. But obviously, they got up to play the Lakers. I don't know why you wouldn't get up to play the Clippers, but there was actually times where
we're lagging a little bit.
There was actually times where someone would have a turnover, including Damian Lillard, and he would literally just walk down the court and watch the guys get back or get an easy bucket on the other end, and that's inexcusable for this team to not have an effort in a game the way they have. And it's becoming a problem because that was always a staple of Stotts was at least his teams don't give up. They always play hard. And that's the reason why we've in some cases have overachieved because they always seem to show up for games in the years past. But now dating back to last year, it seems like ever since we made the Western Conference Finals, we have this attitude like we arrived and we don't have to have that effort every night anymore. And I thought going into this year, after failing last year, to live up to the expectations. I know injuries had a big part of that. I'm not disputing that at all. But like ever since then, it seems like we haven't had the same level of focus or intensity needed to win games night in and night out, and it's kind of puzzling to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Before I touch on that, like there were players that definitely played poor defense today. CJ McCollum, his off-ball defense is really bad. Dame got blown by pretty consistently. I think Dame doesn't seem 100% in terms of like his body or his health, and I'll touch on that in a second, but he just looks slower off the dribble, slower laterally. He doesn't seem quite 100%. Maybe it's the short layoff. Maybe it's some lingering effects from the knee injury he had in the playoff series against the Lakers. I don't know, but I'll touch on that in a sec. Like, yes, you had players play bad defense, and you have bad defenders on this team, and yes, you can blame them partially for our bad defense, but the thing is, you can't fix that for the most part in the course of a game. What you can control in the course of a game is the type of schemes they run, the type of coaching decisions that are made. So I know it's kind of a thing with some people like, oh, you guys don't criticize the players in that regard, you just criticize the coach. Well, it's like, what can you do? CJ's a bad defender. That's just the way he is. He's a really good offensive player, which makes him worthwhile playing 35 minutes a game, but like nothing's going to change during the course of a game. That's kind of like out of your control over the course of a game. Like CJ's not just going to magically improve, and then it's not like CJ is deciding to be terrible defensively. He's just not a good defender. You can't really control that. So the things you can control is the type of schemes you run, the types of adjustments you make defensively. We did not see good things in that regard.
Honestly, I don't feel like players like Dame and CJ are held accountable when they give lackluster effort. And you saw a team like the San Antonio Spurs where Popovich would lay into his stars, and they knew that they had to not have these defensive lapses, right? Or they would get chewed out by Popovich. And I don't feel like Dame and CJ have any worry about doing anything wrong because it's not gonna matter to them other than like us, maybe criticizing them on a post-game show or something. But like for the most part, they're never held accountable for their actions on the court. So we've seen Dame for 8 years now not know how to get through a pick. CJ for 7 years not know how to even stand in the right position off ball. Like he's not even in the right positions. That's coaching to me. That's if they were being coached properly in practice, they would know by now all these little things that wouldn't have to be taught to a freaking 7 or 8 year veteran in the NBA. And they've had the same coach the whole time. So you can't blame anyone else other than Stotts and his coaching staff for the fact that these players are not put in the best position to win games usually, and it's frustrating that they aren't held accountable for that either. And the coaching staff's not really held accountable that much. The stars aren't held accountable. Like, when was the last time Stotts chewed out Dame or CJ or benched them or did something the way he did with Nurk in the preseason against Denver, when he fell asleep and Jokic cut on him and got a lay-in? I've never seen him address Dame or CJ in that same fashion.
Yeah, and I have an issue with that. You got to be consistent, It's like, the thing is, the way he laid into Nurkic, he would never lay that way into Dame. He would never lay that way into CJ. He would never lay that way into Carmelo Anthony. Those are like the three guys. Like, I would be shocked if Stotts ever laid into any of those three guys the same way they did Yusuf Nurkic, and I don't think that's okay. You got to hold everyone accountable. It's a team. Just because somebody is the best player on your team doesn't mean you can't hold them accountable. Doesn't mean you shouldn't hold them accountable. And CJ McCollum, a lot of his defensive mistakes need to be held more accountable. A lot of his off-ball defensive stuff is just ridiculous. And there was a picture that I responded to on Twitter earlier today that was just CJ having terrible help side positioning. It's like he's guarding a guy in the weak side quarter and he's all the way across the court on the other side of the floor when he should have maybe 2 feet in the paint but be shaded more towards his guy. Like, it's just simple positioning things that shouldn't be an issue for a guy that's like 7 or 8 year veteran if he's been taught these things right and consistently. I don't think CJ is like some uncoachable player that like is just incapable of being in the right position defensively. I just think that that part of the defense has gone undervalued and underappreciated just in regards to the way I don't really know how to explain it. Like, just in regards to this team, man, that's not just a CJ problem. That's a problem with a lot of players where they overhelp and their positioning is poor. And it's like, I understand if it's like a first or second year player, but not a guy who's been here for 7 years. So that's the thing, is like, okay, are they focusing on this with CJ and looking at film with him based on his positioning? Like, they should be. If they're not, that's a problem. And if they are, is it CJ is uncoachable? I don't think that's the case. So it's just very confusing to me why some certain things like that are still a problem. CJ would be a far better defender. He wouldn't be great, but he'd be far better if he just positioned himself correctly and knew how to play off-ball defense. But his off-ball defense is just ridiculously bad, and there's been no signs of improvement in that regard. And it's frustrating because, like, guys like that, you want to see improvement out of CJ. It'll help raise the floor of our defense, and you don't see it, So I don't know, man. There's just a bunch of defensive problems to speak on from this game. Definitely some plays where we made mistakes individually, where we were out of position, where we failed to get through screens properly, and there was mistakes in terms of why in the world didn't we switch up anything defensively despite us getting killed. Because if you're trying something that isn't working, why would you keep doing it? It's that simple to me, and I don't understand why it's so much more complicated to the coaching.
Yeah, and it's I singled out Dame and CJ, but there weren't many players that had good defensive performance. And you see guys like Robert Covington and Derek Jones came from systems in the past where they actually learn this kind of stuff, and so they're actually decent at defense because they've been taught that. But a lot of these players that have been in our system, like, when was the last time we developed someone really good defensively? We've developed a ton of people offensively, but I can't remember a time where there was like a really good defender that developed in Stott's system as a defender. And that worries me for a guy like Nas Little, who could absolutely be a lockdown defender in this league, that he's not going to get the right coaching to become that, if that's what it is. And Trent, Alvaro brings up Trent, which is a good point, but honestly, Trent's dad told him, I heard this before he was even drafted, that you have to learn how to play defense and you have to do it yourself, and you can't trust anyone else to help you with that. And Trent even mentioned it before magically changing his story and giving credit to the coaching a little bit during the bubble. But he basically said before the bubble that he took it upon himself and was watching film by himself, got film by himself, and was learning how to play defense by himself. And he just has a defensive attitude. But I'm talking about players who aren't good defensively, but you groom them to be good defensively. I don't know. I guess Trent does apply a little bit. But. Mm-hmm. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry, I was typing. Here, my bad. I try and mute when I type because I know you guys probably don't want to hear that. But that's the first one of the season, game 4. What I was saying is it's just frustrating because against the Lakers, our help side defense and our defensive rotations were very, very good, and that's why we held them to 107 points. tonight they were far worse. Against the Lakers, guys were helping at the right times. They were in the right positions. They closed out well. They were very, very good in terms of their off-ball defense and when they helped over and when they kind of stayed on their guy. Their team defense was really good against the Lakers. Against the Clippers, it was a night and day difference. So, yeah, I'm not still muted, by the way. I think chat's just lagging because I'm definitely not muted anymore. Am I good for y'all? Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so that's the thing is like if I don't know, it's hard to really compare because you have to really look for it. But
here's what I'll say to that is to be a good defensive team, you have to have all 5 guys focused together, and you can't have. I mean, it's okay, like, every once in a while for someone to have a lapse or to, get beat backdoor or something. That kind of stuff's going to happen throughout the game. But you can't just, like, take turns doing it. Like, every possession have one person always – it's not always the same person. It's like one possession is Dame, one possession is CJ, one possession is Nurk. Like, you can't just keep doing that every possession. You have to have consecutive possessions where you're all on the same page and rotating well and doing that kind of stuff. And yeah, you might say it could take time for them to all get on the same page, but to me, a lot of the stuff tonight was just a lack of effort and a lack of focus, and that's more concerning than any kind of scheme thing. But once again, if they're being coached properly to be a good unit and watching film, they would get in trouble. Not trouble's not the right word, but like they would get talked to or like brought up in front of the whole team when they're doing this kind of stuff, and then the whole point is to not do that. And it's just frustrating that we see the same problems we've seen all these years, no matter what our defensive personnel is, that we see the same problems that make it so we can never be a consistently good defense.
And I'll give Stas some time to like fix some of those issues, right? Like The problem is like in past years, those issues haven't improved. So I'm very worried about it. Last season, like a lot of the fixable issues didn't improve and everybody's screaming, well, we don't have good defensive personnel, but that wasn't the point. The point is, okay, we have poor defensive personnel, but there are fixable mistakes that our poor defensive personnel is making that should be fixable and over the course of the season should improve, and we didn't see that improvement. So that's kind of the disconnect between the people saying, well, what can Stutz do? They're poor defenders, and us saying they should be improving some of these things that they're making mistakes on, because not all of their mistakes are due to them just simply being incapable, right? But we didn't see that improvement last year, so that has me a bit worried where it's like, okay, man, like we got to fix these mistakes, but I don't have a ton of confidence in it because in like previous years we haven't seen a lot of progress, or the progress I feel like we should have seen. But I game 4 we had a flash last game. Okay, you know what? We need to become more consistent in this regard. You can have a little bit of time in that regard. The big problem I have is just the fact that he didn't make a single defensive adjustment all game long, which is just absolutely ridiculous to me. I don't know how you don't make a defensive adjustment when you are getting demolished that bad by the Clippers offense. I don't know how you don't adjust. He didn't even switch up the rotation. He didn't like maybe try Giles for a few minutes just to see if he could provide some better defense over somebody like Kanter. He didn't change a scheme. He didn't do anything. So that's the problem, is like in a game against the Lakers, perfectly fine coached game. The team played as they should. They were on a string. The defensive scheme was working. They were executing it fine. So there was literally no complaints from me in regards to the defense in that Lakers game. The problem is this game, when you are getting demolished that bad, you got to change something up. You got to adjust. You got to try something different. Shout out Dame the Goat for the $1 donation. Appreciate it. So it's just, you just got to adjust when you're struggling this bad on either end of the floor. You got to try something different, change things up. And there was not a single change on the defensive end. And that is just pretty inexcusable to me, to be honest.
Yeah, and shout out to Not Tram, my buddy. He brings up a good point too, and we saw this last year. How many shows did we have last year where it was like coming off a win, we're like, okay, this team played well tonight. Let's build on this. It seems like they're turning the corner. Maybe they beat a couple of bad teams or something, and then they inexplicably don't show up the next game and get blown out by 20 to maybe a bad team, or like play a good team and don't really handle it well or whatever. Like, you can't be satisfied with wins, and this goes back to what I was saying about the Western Conference Finals. Like we were happy to be there, and that seems like a problem with this team. Like when we have a good game, we think, oh, we got it now. We're good now again. We're fine, and we don't need to put in the same effort that got us that win in the game before. And until that changes, we're never going to be a consistently good contending team, because you have to bring that kind of effort every time you play if you're in the NBA.
Yeah. So here's the thing, like just looking ahead to next game real quick, like what the Blazers should do is they should have a different game plan than they had this game. If they have the same exact game plan that they had this game, Steph Curry could go off, right? Steph Curry running off of screens, I can't talk. Steph Curry running off of screens. If you drop the big into the paint, Steph Curry is going to have wide open three after wide open three, and he's really their only offensive player that scares me at all. Like, Oubre has been terrible. Wiggins is highly inefficient and not good. Who else do they have offense? Like James Wiseman, I guess, but he's a big guy. So the only perimeter player I'm even remotely worried about is Steph Curry. And if we come out with this game plan we did tonight, that'll be ridiculous, because we saw it in game 1 of the Western Conference Finals when we played them. Steph Curry picked it apart. We adjusted and were more competitive defensively later on in that series. We just didn't really execute the schemes as well as we needed to actually pull out those games. I feel like if we had been running those schemes a bit more during the regular season, we might have been better at running them and might have been able to pull out some of those Western Conference Finals games, considering they were very, very close. So here's the thing. Going into this game, you have to help the screens with Steph Curry. You cannot let him run off screens and step into threes and catch and shoot running off his screens into wide open threes. There's just no reason to defend it that way. And I'm highly worried that Stotts is going to defend it that way, because it seems like we're kind of going back to we're just going to drop the big no matter what, no matter how bad our defense is struggling, no matter who we're playing against. And that's what I'm worried about. You can drop the big and go under screens against Kelly Oubre. He hasn't been shooting well. You can do that against Andrew Wiggins. Honestly, a smart defensive coach would probably have the team playing different pick and roll coverages depending on who is in the pick and roll or who's running off the screen. But I
don't feel like they're that advanced.
Yeah, they're not that advanced, but that's what like a really
Most
good
teams would do that, yeah.
You trap, like when CJ comes off screens, he doesn't get trapped like Dame does. When Dame comes off screens, he gets trapped and he gets smothered, right? You do that to Curry. You employ that same game plan on Steph Curry so he doesn't get going. You make other guys beat you because those other guys haven't been good at all this season. But that's, we'll see next game. But if they come out just dropping the big on Steph Curry coming off of screens, I will be highly critical, highly critical, and that'll have me even more worried. So that's just like a little look ahead. I know this is obviously a post-game show for this game, but this game just has me worried we're going to drop the big next game. We have to be more adaptable defensively. Stotts talked about changing his defensive philosophy before this season, and we struggled a little bit during the preseason, but it's a new scheme, so you got to run it more. I just watching tonight, without us making a single adjustment and just continuously dropping the big, I'm highly worried we've just already given up on that. And now it's just, oh, well, we're just going to drop the big and hope they don't hit threes. Oh, they made threes? Well, they just made shots. Well, part of it is that they were picking apart our scheme and getting open shots against it, and we didn't adjust.
Yeah, shout out to Dame Lago. He had another 99-cent donation and then a $1.99 donation. Thanks, man. He says Dame is still the best PG in the league.
We'll talk about him. Everybody's overreacting on him.
I hate the 3-4 game overreactions to, oh, this player's trash this year. He sucks. He has no chance of winning MVP. Or like, oh, this player is the best. Julius Randle is the best player of all time based off 3 games.
Yeah, I had a triple-double. Yeah, that's the thing. Bro, Dame had a great game last game. He dropped over 30 points. He shot, 10 for 16, 5 for 10 from 3? Like, Dame was great last game, and it was like a quiet 30. And during that game, everybody's talking trash, like, damn, Dame looks so bad. It's like, what are you watching? What are you looking at? And then, yes, he struggled today, but he actually got to the line a ton. He got 20 points on 14 shots. He was efficient. He was inefficient from the field and from the three-point line, but a lot of the times when he attacked, he got to the free throw line, and if they didn't foul him, he might have been able to score some of the buckets and had a more efficient night from the field. But, 20 points on 14 shots isn't terrible. it's super inefficient, but he got to the free throw line a lot. Like, I want to see better shooting nights from Dame, of course, but like, he's going to have nights where he struggles. You know what I mean? He's in a little bit of a slump. He doesn't look 100% right now. He doesn't seem to have that same like burst of quickness to get him to the rim. Like, he's getting a lot of his shots blocked that he'd probably get layups on. He doesn't seem as quick coming off pick and rolls. I don't know why that is, but like, I expect that to fix itself at some point, and then he'll go off and have like 3 40-point games out of 4 games. You know what I mean? Like, that's what Dame does. But people are taking 3 bad games, right? Because he had a good game last game. People are taking like 3 bad games and just freaking out. And you have Blazer fans saying, yeah, he's not even a top 10 point guard. So-and-so's better than him right now. Like, just ridiculous stuff, man. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah, I hate the Dame slander that we've been seeing.
Yeah, we had one person that's in this chat right now say that he'd take LaMelo Ball over Dame.
Yeah, so y'all gotta chill with that type of stuff, man. Like, that type of stuff is ridiculous. It's just, dude, have you guys not watched this guy for the past 8 years? Like, have you not watched Dame for the past 8 years? I don't know if, like, we have some new fans to the team that have never actually watched Dame before or what, but it's ridiculous, man. I don't understand. Like, this dude literally, like, maybe people got spoiled and he dropped 30 and 8 on 40% three-point shooting last year, and maybe they expect him to do that, or he's automatically trash if he gets 28 and 7. I don't know, man, but people got to chill with him. He's not playing well necessarily by his standards right now, but you just got to give him time, man. People just got to relax when it comes to Dame. I guess we'll get into our individual player breakdowns right now, since we're already talking about him.
We got a few things to get to. So Dame the GOAT had another $1.99 donation. He said Dame, Lock, and Curry. I'm assuming he's talking about the next couple games.
I mean,
so, yeah.
Hopefully.
I don't know if Dame will be guarding Curry that much, but yeah.
Shout out Alvaro for the $3 donation. He said they made shots because we didn't adjust thoughts. I mean, part of it is players not playing good defense on top of that. Like, it's not just a stats problem. And, you know, I'm fine with him coming out the first 4 minutes with that drop scheme. You know, if it works, then you keep running it. If it doesn't work, you adjust quickly. You don't spend the whole game not adjusting, so that's ridiculous. And then Dame GOAT, another $2 donation. He's dropping all the $1 and $2 donations. He says, people be ready to hate. It's just been 2 games. I mean, yeah, it's the Dame hate is just a little over the top right now. Shout out Near Zero for the $5 dono. He says, Dame is giving more effort on the D. He has to get used to playing on both sides. That is all it is. Yeah, it seems like he's, like, giving effort, but he's not as quick laterally as he was last year. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like he's 100%. Did you get that same feeling? Like, he's not as quick as he was last season. I don't know if it's the short layoff and he couldn't get his body right going into the season like he normally is. You know, is the body clock, the yearly schedule is off and all that. I don't know if it's his knee injury lingering, but do you get the same feeling I do, Eric? Like, he doesn't seem quite 100% physically.
I'm not getting that sense at all. I feel more like.
So you think he looks just as quick as he did last year?
I don't know if I'm saying just as quick. I mean, part of that is a lot of players use. Like, he does a lot of boxing and other kind of non-basketball stuff to get ready for a season. So some of that is not having a long training camp. You know, you might not be basketball shape versus like in shape. I don't think he looks like out of shape or anything, but I feel like he's just like, he misses a couple shots, and it's normally in his mind he doesn't have a conscious, so he's fine. He'll just make the next one. But like, the fact that he's missed, like, I think now 4 3-pointers with like no one absolutely near him this year. I think it's been one in every game where he's missed one without a defender within 10 feet of him, and he doesn't get those good shots very often. So I feel like there's just something like, oh man, please go in, instead of, oh yeah, I'm open, I got this. That slight thing. Like, I've actually told that to you before, where I can notice a difference sometimes when you have that attitude versus kind of questioning shooting on an outside rim or something like that. So Maybe it's just something to where he's just not quite comfortable yet.
And that's the thing for most shooters.
Hurt or not, but yeah,
that's the thing for most shooters too. Like Steph Curry hasn't had a good first 4 games. Dame in the past, even last season, he had a 4-game stretch like this at some point last season. He has a stretch like this every season, But the thing is, when it happens at the middle of the season, when he's been killing it before, people don't overreact. Oh, he's just in a little slump. He's been killing it before. He'll be fine. But since it's happening right at the start of the season, it's the first 4 games. You have people sitting here oh, dang, is Dame declining? Dame might be declining. Dame doesn't look good, man. Dame fell off. It's just a bunch of that type of crap since it's, the start of the season compared to it happening some point in the middle of the season. So, these types of stretches happen for every player in the NBA. Even Giannis dropped 9 points yesterday. They still won by 50. I mean, shout out to the Bucks. They set an NBA record in threes, but Giannis wasn't that great last night. He dropped 9 points. I mean? You can find a 4-game stretch from any player in the league that's just as bad as this 4-game stretch from Dame. So that's the thing is people got to chill with that. I think he doesn't have the same extra gear that he had last season. I think he just needs a little bit of time to get that back. He doesn't look to have the same burst. He's still quick. He's still very quick, but the thing is he was so fast last year, so quick, could beat, if the big got brought up, he could beat anybody off the dribble. I also think part of it is the Clippers tonight, they smothered him every time he drove the ball. They had 3-4 defenders running at him, and he tried to make the right pass, but passing windows weren't there. Guys weren't cutting to the right spots. Guys weren't relocating to the right spots. So yeah, people just gotta chill on him. He'll be fine. It's Damian Lillard, for crying out loud.
So Thomas Saransky said something that I've actually thought of more than an injury thing. He says he's just getting used to his new tattoos.
What are his new tattoos?
I don't know. He's got a heart or something. There's something right in his neck, bottom neck area. You can see it. It's pretty visible. He looks different this year.
Okay, I wasn't going to address Blockboy, but he says, I love how when it's Dame, people got to chill with that, and he doesn't have the same verse. Man, how many more excuses does Dame get? You're the Melo fan, bro. Dame is worlds ahead of Melo right now, man. So, of course, he gets more excuses, bro. Come on now. You're literally going to compare how Dame is looked at to how Melo is looked at. You got to stop with the Melo love, and you got to be objective once in a while because, man, okay, let me just go off on this real quick. I had so many Melo haters coming at me today because I said you cannot play Melo and Kanter together, right? I'm not even saying necessarily to cut Melo's minutes or anything. I'm saying play him more with Nurkic and play Kanter more with Robert Covington and Derrick Jones Jr. so you have at least one good defender in the front court. That's my entire point. Play Melo and Kanter less together and stagger them more so you can pair them with players who are solid defenders. And you have all these people man, why you hate on Melo so much all the time, man? Why you gotta be so hard on him? And it's just ridiculous. I'm not even necessarily criticizing Melo. The fact is he's not a good defender. Some people can't admit that. Some people think he's absolutely perfect, which is just kind of ridiculous. But you have some hardcore Melo fans that think he can do no wrong and think he has no weaknesses. Fine, whatever. I'm not even saying they should cut his minutes necessarily, right? Maybe I think that, maybe I don't. But I wasn't even saying they should cut his minutes. They should just play him less with Kanter. They should just play him less with Kanter, play him more with Nurkic, a better defender in the front court. Nurkic hasn't been that great defensively, but he's still better than Kanter. So it can help Melo out a little bit more on the defensive end. You know what I mean? And honestly, playing off of Nurkic, Melo could probably get better shots too, and maybe shoot better from the field and whatnot. So that's the thing is you have all these Melo fans. It's starting to drive me crazy. I just need to start just either blocking them or just ignoring them. I don't know. But you have all these people that look to get so offended if you're not saying glowing things about Melo, and it just drives me absolutely crazy. You have people that are legitimately offended at the fact that I said play Melo less to Kanter less and more next to Nurkic. How's that a ridiculous thing to say? I don't understand that.
I have an idea. I'll wait till we talk about Nurk in the individual players. But I want to see what you think of this. Shout out to Dame the Goat again for another $1.99 donation. He'll say he'll be motivated because he's going against Curry.
I mean, I hope so, and it's in his hometown. Actually, it's not his hometown anymore. It's San Francisco now. But, I mean, Dame gets up for big matchups like that. But also, wasn't he going to get up for this game because it's the Clippers and they were talking a bunch of trash last year? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have to get up for like you should be up for every game as a professional athlete. Like I hate that you have to be like motivated somehow to play well. So hopefully that's not. I mean, I hope he goes off next game, obviously, but like I don't think you should have to like have some special matchup or you're playing against some guy. Yeah, of course, when you're playing a good team, you can get up a little more than when you're playing like the Knicks or something like that. But overall, there's no reason why the team shouldn't have shown up tonight and been motivated against the Clippers, who, like you said, have been talking crap all off season. So at some point, you got to kind of put your money where your mouth is when it comes to the trash talking, because you haven't really played well against the Clippers at any point in Dame's career. So like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like less talking, more action would be a little better, but that's just me.
Yep. I mean, I don't know. Like he was just speaking facts. So
yeah.
But shout out Near Zero.
Oh, go ahead.
12 for the $5 donation. He says, Kanter is like 80% from the field, but Melo is the one backing down the post. I mean, Melo was fine offensively tonight. And, like, defensively, I just think it would be better for him if he was paired next to a solid defender instead of Kanter. Like, you can look at that as a shot at Kanter if you want, but a lot of people just try and take anything and spin it out of context to be offended about somebody disrespecting Melo. And that's not even disrespect. So.
And one more thing about Dame, and I'm bringing it up yet again. So Dame is struggling. CJ had hit a couple threes. So what happens? CJ gets taken out at his normal time in the first quarter. Dame stays in, continues to struggle. The lead grows for the Clippers. Why are we doing this, Thoughts? Why do we have to always keep Dame in for the entire first quarter? I do not understand. Like, give him a little bit of a break and then bring him back in the second quarter. Let him sit for a second and come in and see if he can catch fire in the second quarter. But instead, we like run him into the ground, and of course he's going to be tired if he's not. If your theory is correct and he's not 100%, or if he's just not in shape, playing him a full quarter at a time is not the answer to that. And also, like, I just don't understand why we have to always do the same rotations. Take Dame out if he's struggling. Let CJ cook if he's going. And I mean, it's not like CJ was on fire or anything, but he was at least making some shots early in this game and keeping us in it. So, like, I just don't understand why we have to always take CJ out and always play CJ at the beginning of the second quarter and always keep Dame in until the end of the first quarter and all that kind of stuff. It's like move rotations around and do what's on the court, like what's happening on the court, factor into that. Yeah.
Thank you, Kyle Wilson, for the $5 donation and the laugh. He says, Stotts, I have a joke. Defense. Blazers say, I don't get it. Stotts says, I know. That was funny. But yeah, here you just one of the guards, keep him in for like almost the whole first quarter, all right? Whichever guard is playing best in the first quarter, keep him in for the whole first quarter. Whichever one is struggling, sub them out early, then sub them back in with the bench lineup after they get some rest, and maybe they'll have more of a spark. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do it so set in stone where it's Dame specifically spends the whole first quarter on the floor and CJ gets taken out no matter if he hit 2 threes or is hot. Like that, and that goes back to the whole entire, like, my biggest thing with Stotts is he's not adaptable. He doesn't adjust. He doesn't adapt to situations well. It's like he has a 3x5 note card, and it doesn't matter what's happening in the game. He just coaches based off a 3x5 note card. Like, it's ridiculous, and it drives me crazy. Like, I don't know, shoot, like, we could take that note card and give it to any random person off the street, and they could read off that note card, and I feel like it'd be kind of the same at some points, because it's just like, okay, take Dame, or leave Dame in and take CJ out here. Okay, time to take him out, despite the fact that CJ literally got hot in that first quarter, or looked to get going. So that's the thing, is like, Stotts needs to stop being such like a cookie cutter set in stone coach and be more adaptable and adjust better to certain situations. The rotations is one of them. Making a damn adjustment on the defensive end at least sometime in this game would have been nice, but he didn't do that. You know, it's the lack of adaptability and adjustability. It just is very frustrating from me. So yeah, and I'm not a fan of that.
You know what OKC did? And the Clippers have kind of done this too. So they take Paul George out, like, with like 6 or 7 minutes left in the first quarter sometimes, and then bring him back in with like 2 or 3 minutes left in the same quarter. So like he gets a little bit of a rest, but then he's back finishing the quarter out. I don't know. It's just I feel like at some points when the game flow is not going well, and then the league continues to grow and grow for the other team, like why would you stick to the same thing? Why would you not try different things? It's just so frustrating.
Yeah, and just going back to like don't play Melo and Kanter together, that might mean keeping Melo's rotation or minutes the same and playing Giles over Kanter. Giles looked good once again tonight. And he, for some reason, can't get any worthwhile burn. So, like, that's the thing is I think, like, Melo's not a great defender. Some people might disagree with that, but in my opinion, Melo is not a great defender, and it would help him out to have a good defensive player next to him. That's literally just my entire point. That might mean Giles, or that might mean you stagger Melo and Kanter, so Melo gets to play next to Nurkic more, who's a better defender than Kanter. That's literally my entire point with that. It's not even meant as any Melo hate or disrespect. But yeah, dude, I'm getting frustrated about the fact that Giles isn't playing either. Do you want to touch on that, or you want to wait?
Yeah, because this guy can do it all. Like, you see him come in, grab a rebound, go coast to coast, put on a move, do a Euro step, lay it in with ease. You saw that. I don't know if you saw this, Tori, but I saw this practice thing where he totally broke down CJ Ellaby off the dribble and dunked in his face from the three-point line off a dribble move. And he looked like a point guard. Like, dude, this guy has major skills. He had another block shot tonight. He's good at help defense. He's not the best defender like throughout his career so far, but the stuff he is good at defense is the stuff that the Blazers need, primarily like the ability to switch or hedge and recover quickly on screens, and also to recover quickly if he is out of position, he can recover quick. That's one of the reasons why Derrick Jones Jr. is a fairly good defender. Is even when he messes up, he can still have the quickness to recover quickly, and that part of that's effort. But the energy from this guy, he brings it when he comes in the game, and we need guys like that when we're losing. Like, I understand if we're in a close game or something and you want to go with like the more consistent, steady player. But when you're down by 20, what does it hurt to bring in an energy guy that can maybe do some fun things? There was a point in the second half where Derrick Jones Jr. missed that dunk. It would have cut it to like 21, and we were kind of on a little run because we were down 30 a few minutes prior to that. And it kind of sucks he missed it. But like, we need like some of those momentum plays. I talked about not having a crowd or any energy in the stands. You have to manufacture that. And Giles can do that with his play. Like, the team gets pumped up when he makes a good pass or drives and packs it on someone. Like, I just want to see him get a chance to do that in a game when we still have a chance to win versus just playing garbage mop-up time. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, he's just a more cohesive fit. It's like, what's the issue with our bench lineup? We don't have enough ball movement. You have a backup center who can pass the ball really, really well that could help with our ball movement. That can take the ball off the dribble and slash even, and can beat bigs off the dribble, and might be able to collapse the defense and kick out to guys like Carmelo or Gary Trent Jr. and get them open catch and shoot looks, which help get their games going. He is better defensively than Kanter. He can come in and he can trap a pick and roll. He has the mobility to run any type of screen defense. I think Kanter is fine hedging. I don't buy the fact that, Kanter can only play drop scheme, but if Stotts really feels that way, play the big who can run any defensive scheme well. That's the thing. He's very mobile, and he's a solid defender. So that's the thing. His skill set is a more cohesive fit than Kanter's. And here's the thing. Kanter has played really well. Really, really well during these first 4 games. But the problem is our bench lineup has only been good for one of those. Even when Kanter plays well, our bench lineup still struggles. Even tonight, Kanter played decently and Melo shot the ball really well and Melo had it going offensively. But our bench lineup still struggled against the other teams due to the defensive end, most importantly. Also, Rodney Hood wasn't able to get an open look. CJ was going against a set defense and had a lot of defensive attention spent on him. You need a guy that can be the outlet option if they play up on the screen and roll defense. You need a guy that can can, knock down a jumper. Like I have faith in Giles' jumper. He hasn't really shown it, but I have faith in it. You need a guy that can play some defense. It's just a more cohesive fit with the rest of those guys. So that's the thing is like, at this point, I would play Giles over Kanter and see what that bench lineup looks like. You have a lot of talented pieces. You just have to find a way to make them fit and make them a cohesive unit. And right now, it's a bunch of nice parts, but it's not a cohesive unit. It was a cohesive unit against the Lakers, and look how good our bench was. That it helped that Trent Jr. hit some insane shots, but it's about taking the best pieces in terms of pieces that can add up to a cohesive unit. Sometimes it's not necessarily the best players in that regard.
I'm going to throw this out there. I don't know how I don't know if I'm willing to die on this hill, but last year I truly felt like Little did not get minutes in some games because he would have shown that Stotts maybe does have personnel to do certain things and he's just not choosing to use them properly or stuff like that. And or like might show up a veteran player that they've made a promise to or think that they might piss off if they give Little more minutes over a certain other player, right? And so I'm worried that, again, this season we made promises to certain players, and I'm not singling out Melo because it's apparently other players we gave promises to as well. But, like, I feel like a guy like Giles might come in and play so well that people will start to be like, like, why is Kanter even playing at all or something, because, I mean, and once again, not that Kanter's playing bad, but, like, why did we see Giles play a ton in the first preseason game and then like basically be benched since then? Like, it doesn't make sense to me, like why we're holding him back or not like trying to explore if that's a weapon that we could use to win games. Like something's got to be there to where we're like trying to protect other people over just playing the best personnel and trying different things and doing stuff. And like I said, I don't know if I fully buy into that, but like, from my point of view, it feels like that's what's happening in some situations.
Yep. Let me thank some donations. Dame the Goat, $5 donation. He's been dropping a ton of donations. I think he wants me to continuously say his name because it's facts, right? $5 donation with the message of, we have an easy stretch of games coming up. Do you guys think we can go on a long reigning streak or no? It just depends on how the team plays. If the team plays like how they did against the Lakers, then definitely. If the team plays like how they did tonight, then definitely not, So it just comes down to what style basketball we're playing, if we're playing cohesive basketball, if we're playing the right brand of basketball, if we're defending well, if we're making the right adjustments, like we could play like we did tonight and maybe beat a team like the Bulls or something just because they're so bad. But like my big focus is like, how are we playing, in general? What style of basketball are we playing? Do we look good? That type of thing.
I don't want to have it be like last year where we're like, oh, what team's going to show up tonight? You know what I mean? Like, we need to be locked in. I mean, everyone said it on this team. We needed to get off to a good start. We can't afford to be inconsistent and show up one game and then not show up the next game and stuff like that. We need all these games. And think of how important this game could have been if we're 3-1 right now versus and going into this stretch of easier games.
Mm-hmm. It would have built momentum.
Yeah, and then like you win 5 is our next 6 or something, and all of a sudden we're 8-2 versus fighting for 500 and maybe somewhere around the 6 to 8 seed. I know we're not worried about seeding right now, but I'm just giving an example instead of like up there with possibly getting top seed come playoff time, and it's little things like that. And like I mentioned earlier in this broadcast, there were so many times last year where I felt like. The same way I did after the Laker game, like, okay, here we go. We got the momentum now. We played well. We've seen how to do it. Now they just have to do it next game, and then we play it. We have a dud the next game, and it's just so frustrating, the inconsistency.
Yep. Let me thank a couple other donations. You have Dame the
Dame the
Goat
Goat had another.
shouting out all Blazer fans. We just gonna read his name off. Shout out Maurice Fenton. I don't know what currency that is. I'm just not well versed on currency, but thank you for the $5 donation. He says, highlight of the game was Lamar's screech when Jones Jr. nearly got a super dunk. I wish he threw that down. If that happened in a close game, I would have been kind of mad, but if you're losing by 20, yeah, go and make a highlight, like whatever. They're pretty much doomed at that point. Anyway, dude, he got up on that one. Lamar's screeched like... Dude, that was... I've never heard an announcer do that. But, yeah, man, honestly, like, I like Lamar. I do like Lamar, and I like that he brings some energy to the broadcast because it needs some, because Jordan Kent is kind of subdued, so...
One thing I love from Lamar Hurd tonight was he actually was like, that was just terrible defense. I don't even know what to say about that. Like, he actually said that on the air. I was like, oh my God, he actually said that.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you for actually saying what it actually was.
Yeah. Yeah, which is like, hopefully he doesn't get in trouble for that. Shout out West Brick for the $2 donation. He says, shout out to Dame. He's shouting out Dame the Goat, and he says, remember Stotts a bozo. Dame the Goat with a $3 donation. He says, Dame the Goat. Yeah, let me just touch on...
Jason Lee had a $2 donation.
Oh, did I miss it? I'm sorry, Jason.
Says, do you think Olshey has the nerve to fire Stotts? I'd be surprised if it happened during the season, unless we just go on a losing streak and look really bad. But you have to remember, like, everyone was praising him after last game, so it's not like it's been like 10 games of him being an absolute bum or something. So yeah, I don't think, unless we're really struggling and below 500 after like 20 games, then maybe they start to think about it. But I don't think that's going to be an issue during the season, at least.
Yep. And let me just touch on something like real quick. Like, for the rest of tonight, if people are toxic in chat, we're going to start putting you in timeout. And if you continuously do it, we're just going to permanently hide you, right? Because we try not to be toxic towards people who disagree with us. You're allowed to come in here and voice your disagreements and have a conversation. We're perfectly cool with that. What I have a problem with is when people, curse at us, when people say we're ridiculous, when people, when it becomes a personal insult type of thing and toxic like that. I'm kind of tired of that. There's been more of it this season. It's at some point it's just we're gonna lay the hammer down, and if you want to participate in our post-game streams, then either stop being toxic, and if you don't want to stop being toxic, we might have to start being more strict on that, because you have people like, do not insult other people in here. I've talked to somebody specifically about that. Don't insult somebody in chat. Don't call for us to ban somebody because you don't like their opinion. Like, that type of stuff I don't have a problem with. You had NBA 2K21 repeatedly saying ban Portlandia. Portlandia is fine. He's not toxic. We disagree in regards to our opinions on the coaching staff, which is completely fine. He's in here, he's supportive of us and whatnot. We just disagree on things, but he's not toxic, so there's no reason to call for us to ban him. There's no reason to constantly say be toxic towards him. That type of stuff, I don't want that type of stuff. Please refrain from that type of stuff. If we repeatedly see that type of stuff and we warn you about it and you keep on doing it and you're a repeat offender, we might have to start being a little stricter on who we permanently hire and whatnot, because we just want this to be an inclusive space for people to just voice their opinions, whether or not they agree with us or disagree with us. Connor Martin says, Tori, can you ban Eric? That's the only time I will listen to a request for banning someone.
What the hell did I do,
it's always
Connor? He's mad I killed him in Among Us last night still or something.
Yeah, so, and here we go. Here's the first person. Good job. See, and mods, you can start being a little stricter too. Shout out to our mods who have done a great job so far this season. Shout out to West Brick. Shout out to Trevin. Shout out to Reese. I appreciate you guys, man. It's been nice. I mean, even my own mods banned me when I was trolling Eric on a solo stream, so they do a good job.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna remember what Westford
NBA 2K21. If you say one more thing like that, we're permanently banning you from commenting. Like, we're not playing around, man. Yeah, sorry we had to take that little detour, but that stuff is not okay, man. But yeah, so what do you want to talk about next? You want to go into
Dave's Go had another $2.99 donation.
Oh, did I miss it in the middle of all that?
Just said Dame the GOAT.
Oh, I did shout that out, but we'll shout it out again just because we're gonna constantly shout him out. But yeah. So anyway, shout out to him to go for the $2 donation. He says shout out the mods. Yeah, shout out our mods, man. Definitely show them some love once in a while because they do a great job for us. Yeah, we can.
My mom says be nice to everyone.
Yeah, so just let's be respectful and let's just be respectful of our fellow Blazer fans. We're all on the same side, right? So anyway, let's talk about individual players. We've already talked about Dame. So we're not going to touch on him. We've already talked about certain individual players, so some of them we might not touch on just because we've already discussed them enough, and it would just be repeating stuff we already said. So I think start with CJ, maybe, you think?
Yeah, real quick, Andrew Miller, $5 donation. Thanks, man. He says, haven't participated in a while. I'm super hyped about this offseason, but hot and cold about execution because we still have stats. Yeah, that's going to be a theme of the whole season.
It's going to be inconsistent.
I will say I still like the fact that I heard Olshey directly from his mouth say that Stotts actually has the pieces and needs to be better too. So I feel like he will hold him accountable if this season does not go well. So versus last season when I kept telling you guys, no matter what happens, Stotts is not going to be fired last season. I feel like that is a possibility if things don't go well this season. I'm just hoping that we don't have to put up with the season not going well. There's no reason for it. There's absolutely no excuse for him not making adjustments and coaching this team better.
Yep. Marie said it's a Euro. I should have known that stood for Euro, but because he says he's from Ireland, which is cool. It's cool to check off countries mentally. Ireland, that's a check mark right there because we got people all over the world, and I'm glad that people all over the world can tune to us for some Blazers analysis, since the post-game show here is only broadcast locally. We can have a far wider grasp in that regard. So we're definitely grateful that we're able to do that for you guys, and we appreciate all the support. Good to see you, Andrew Miller. Good to see some old OGs back in the chat that we haven't seen in a while. So yeah, if you're just sitting there lurking and haven't commented, definitely say hi, say what's up. I'm pretty familiar with every name in here. So if you comment pretty regularly, I will know you. Shout out brother Fenster. He says Singapore here. How about a shout out? There you go. I think Singapore is another one. Aaron Cueto. Sorry if I said your last name wrong. He says he's from the Philippines. So yeah, we got people all over the place.
Dave the guy with another $1.99 dono says last dono, but shout out to the two goats on my screen. Thanks,
appreciate it, man. Appreciate your support tonight. Shout out Near012 for the $10 donation. He's coming as well. He says we can just chuck this loss up to 2020. This game sucked. This year sucked, but 2021 is almost here. Yes, this game, I thought about it, is a perfect example of 2020. I can't wait for the calendar to turn. I know it's arbitrary, but yeah, man. Yesterday I wrote out 21 goals for 2021. I'm ready for the calendar to flip. I'm feeling happy about the fact that it won't be 2020 anymore, because this year has been rough, but we'll see what we can do in 2021. That'll be fun, just to start this season fresh, start the calendar fresh, and hopefully see some improvement from this team and not more performances like tonight. Hopefully they leave this performance tonight in 2020 and don't bring it into 2021.
Yeah, next game is in 2021, so that's good.
Yep. Is that on New Year's Day?
Yeah, New Year's night.
Or at least they're not playing in New York City on New Year's Day like they did, a couple years ago. And it was Zach Collins' 21st birthday or something. That team went out and they lost by 20 the following day to the Knicks. Yeah, so thank goodness that's not really a thing, because that team was sleepwalking. They probably had a really late night that game. I don't know if you guys remember that one. But yeah, so let's talk about CJ McCollum. He had a solid game tonight. Didn't really show the playmaking he did the past couple games, but to be fair to him, guys weren't really moving. Guys weren't really cutting. The bench unit was especially stagnant. Once again, the bench unit has generally been stagnant. But would have liked to see him create at the level he's been creating at, especially the past 2 games. He's been creating for others at a really high level. But 8 for 17 from the field is pretty efficient. 7 for 11 from 3 is crazy efficient, so you got to appreciate that. He had a solid game. Let me thank the donos before I get your take on him. Dame the Goat said the last dono was his last dono, but he just dropped another dono, another $1 dono. Alvaro says, Alvaro has a $2 dono. He says, Vancouver is like its own country, such an odd city. Are you talking about Vancouver, Washington, or Vancouver, Canada? And where did that come from? That's
I think it's got to be Vancouver, Washington.
Yeah, that's just a random donation comment, but appreciate the dono. Yeah, your thoughts on CJ?
Yeah, CJ had an okay game. Obviously, he continued shooting the ball pretty well. Yeah, defensively it was a struggle for pretty much everyone. So, but yeah, he wasn't good on the defensive end. But yeah, it's kind of weird because in previous seasons, CJ has been the one that's kind of struggled or got off to bad shooting starts to seasons. And now we're seeing that with Dame a little bit. So they just kind of flipped a little bit. But we need games like this from CJ. Like we need him to continue to play well. And it'll eventually pay off when Dame starts hitting. And we'll easily win some of these games when they're both playing well together. But
yeah, I mean, it didn't help.
Solid game, but yeah, not.
Yeah,
I don't feel like anyone played great tonight.
I mean, Dame and CJ haven't really had good games at the same time shooting the ball, so kind of waiting on that to happen. It would be nice to have our guys actually make a higher percentage of their shots. But yeah, CJ's been good on the offensive end. He's been really good to start the season. Defensively, he's talked about improving going into this year, and I've yet to see it. So hopefully he can figure things out. I'm not really confident in that happening, though. Shout out Andrew Miller, another $5 donation. He says, does this game and last game show how important Gary is to our team, or would it have been no different with a 100% Gary in the lineup? I don't think it would have been much different because the team was moving the ball really well last game, and that helped Gary Trent Jr. get going, and he got hot because of that. This game, they weren't really moving the ball all that well. You could probably find 5 different reasons that's the case. There could be a bunch of different reasons why that is the case, but it definitely was the case tonight. We weren't moving the ball anywhere near as well as we did against the Lakers, and who knows if Gary Trent Jr. could have gotten going offensively, because he's like a guy who gets going off catch and shoot and kind of a catch and shoot player. So yeah, I don't think the differences in these 2 games are due to Gary Trent Jr.
And it's funny that the one play where Derrick Jones Jr. had a really nice cut was after the shot clock expired towards the beginning of the game. Other than that, they didn't really cut that much.
He had one that was you're talking about at the start of the game, the one where he cut and got the feed from Nurkic?
Yeah, dunked it, but it was after the shot clock was,
See, and the thing is we were super stagnant and took forever to get into our motion in that set, and then we got a dunk out of it, but it was too late because we took forever to get into it. It was a lot of dribbling up top. Pick and roll, they shut it down, lost the dribble a little bit, got it back. So that's the thing, is we need to get into that type of motion more quickly, so that we can play off of it a bit more and have more time to do things out of it. And we need to use that type of motion more consistently. We didn't really have that tonight. We didn't really have the motion, the player movement, the ball movement tonight. So that definitely needs to become a consistent staple of this team. It hasn't really been a staple of this team in the past few years. Yeah, so shout out Dame to go, another $1 donation. He said he was done. He's not. Yeah, you guys have been asking really good questions with the donations. Those are 2 really good questions, Andrew. But yeah, CJ going into the next game, hopefully he can continue his hot 3-point shooting. He's been really good from the 3-point line, which is really nice to see.
Mm-hmm. And that was something he said he was going to work on this year, improving his range a little bit. I like CJ as a spot-up shooter. And when he is driving, being more of a facilitator driver, and he seems to be doing both of those better this year than in years past. So, yeah, I'm not going to give him a pass defensively, but I do like to see the evolution of his game offensively, and hopefully that's a good thing for a good sign for things to come. Because, like I've talked about, the more he passes out of his mid-range shots, those shots will be a little more open when he shoots them finally, and that will improve his efficiency, which is something that he's never quite been very good at ever since his near 50, 40, 90 season. He hasn't really been the most efficient shooter. So I'd like to see that improve. And I think it would, along with his distributing, if he did both of those things. So far this season, I like what I see versus previous seasons with him.
Yep. Let's have a quick little detour into this conversation before we get to the next player. Shervin says, I'm not even mad that we lost these 2 games. It's the ways in which we are losing. Hard to watch. Portlandia replies and says, I'd rather lose blowouts than lose the close games. Winning the close game shows a truly great team, in my opinion. I disagree with that, Portlandia. You want to see this team playing good basketball consistently because that gives the team the best chance of winning the most games during the regular season. If the team is inconsistent in terms of their style of play, they're going to lose more games and they're going to be far more exploitable once the playoffs come around if they can't play a consistently good brand of basketball. So the thing is, against the Lakers, if the Blazers lose that game by 2 points, 4 points, at the end there, if they don't pull away, maybe miss a couple shots that are good shots and the Lakers make some good plays, I'm not complaining about the coaching at all that game. I'm not complaining about the style of play at all that game. It would have been like, dang, man, I really wish we could have gotten that win. But this team played good. This team looked good. And, it's encouraging. I like the way the team played tonight. They just went up against Los Angeles Lakers and lost the game. And believe it or not, there were a couple post-game shows like that last season where that was basically the mood. We lost to a good team, but we played a good style basketball. And we did the things we were supposed to do. And we just ran up against a good team and ended up losing the game. That happens. So that's the thing is I would have been completely fine with that loss, definitely would want, to win, thank goodness we did win. But if we had lost, it would have just been a dang, man, I wish we could have gotten that one, but I like the way the team played. Tonight, it's not like that. I don't like the way the team played. I don't like the style of basketball that was played. So that's the thing. I agree with Shervins and it's not just about the 2 losses, but also the way the team played in those losses.
If you were a good team, you would be on the other end of blowouts. When was the last time we blew a team out? I seriously can't remember. Because in the bubble, every single game was close, came down to the end, including the play-in game. We got blown out several times. So if you only are talking about, he's a good coach because he wins close games, well, it's either a close game or we get blown out. There's no blowouts the other way. So how can you say that you'd rather lose by a blowout when we don't have the opposite ever happen? So it's frustrating because we haven't played well enough to blow teams out. Even when we play well, we let teams hang around or we lose a lead late in the third quarter or something, and then it's a struggle to win and we might pull it out. But we need to be in games more on the opposite end where we shoot well and all of a sudden we're up by 20 and then we use our defense to lock down a game and don't let them back in. And I feel like we have the personnel to do that this year, and that's why it's frustrating. Like I said, 4 out of the 6 games, we've been completely blown out of a game in the first half and haven't even had a chance to come back in any of these. So it's I don't know where you get that from, that it's easier to, or it's better to lose in blowouts. I don't like losing in blowouts 4 out of 6 games, even if they're some are preseason.
Yeah, it basically you're happier with us playing worse because us playing worse leads to more blowouts than close losses. So I'd rather the team play better in general. That's what it comes down to for me. Let's talk about Yusuf Nurkic, who had 4 points, 4 rebounds, 4 turnovers, 2 for 4 from the field. Just didn't look into it tonight. Didn't have an impact on the defensive end, didn't have an impact on the offensive end. This was just one of those games where Nurkic was checked out, and you want to reduce these games as much as possible. People, I think, are a little bit overreacting. Last game, people were saying Nurkic was terrible. Nurkic had a good game last game. He was 5 for 7 from the field, had 10 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, made the right play, played solid defense last game. Nurkic had a very solid game last game, and I felt like people were overreacting to it and saying he had a bad game. Today, he had a bad game. This was not a good game from Nurkic. He didn't seem mentally checked in for the most part. Didn't really play with 100% effort. Maybe it's something conditioning wise, I don't know, but Nurkic has to be better than this. He has to, he's kind of the X factor of this team. He has to bring that spark, he has to bring that attitude, he has to bring production. And when he has games like tonight, even if Dame and CJ are going, it's hard for us to win games.
Yeah, so you were talking about Dame possibly looking like something's wrong with him. Nurk, obviously, I don't know why we're not giving him, we've talked about this before. When you come back from a major injury, sometimes it's up to a year before you start to look like yourself again. So I don't know why we're killing him so much. And then the fact that he had to go to Bosnia and was there and wasn't able to come back and practice right away because of protocols and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think we're just going to have to take the good with the bad for him for a while until he gets back 100%, both physically and mentally. And this is tough. So I have a question for you. I know this would probably hurt his confidence a little bit short term, but I kind of thinking that this would solve our Kanter and Melo problem too, if we, until Nurk gets right or is closer to 100%, maybe bringing him off the bench and letting him play with that second unit and be more of a playmaker, facilitator with that unit and utilize more ball movement and shooters that way versus him struggling with the second unit. I think it might improve both units, actually.
You don't take him out of the starting lineup. It'll mess with him too much mentally. You can play him with the bench. You can take him out 6 minutes into the first quarter and then sub him back in at the start of the second quarter with the bench lineup, and maybe that's when you sub Melo in as well, and you get Melo, and Nurkic 6 minutes next to Melo. That's how I wish they do things, like either just stagger things in a way where you can get Nurkic playing more with Melo and maybe more against the bench unit. He can help with the playmaking and be utilized more as a playmaker and go up against a lesser defender, and maybe it'll get himself going that way. But I don't think you have to take him out of the starting lineup that way, and I don't think you risk taking him out of the starting lineup that way, because I think he's not the most mentally tough person when it comes to basketball. You know what I mean? And normally it isn't really a problem. But if you start toying around with his role and take him out of the starting lineup, I feel like that might affect him negatively and might actually be a step backwards compared to building up and taking steps forward. So I would not do that.
Yeah, I don't know. At this point, I think you have to do what's best for the team. I'm willing to give him a little more time to figure it out, but
that's not best for the team in my opinion. But
I just think if he's gonna be so inconsistent and show such inconsistency on the effort wise, and mentally, I feel like he shouldn't get rewarded for that by continue to be a starter. Like I said,
what's the end goal though? The end goal is to fix that, and I feel like if anything, you just increase that by taking him out of the starting lineup. I don't know. It's a tricky situation with that.
Yeah, I agree with that to an extent. Like I said, it's kind of fragile mentally, but I just feel like that would help. Maybe you could talk to him and say hey, look, this has nothing to do with us thinking you're playing bad or anything. We just have a problem where our defense and passing is not good, but the second unit versus and certain guys not being able to play well together, but we feel like you could play better with this unit or whatever, but we don't obviously want to bench Dame or CJ. But yeah, I understand it's a tough.
I also want to play him more with the bench lineup and more next to Melo. It'll help defensively, I think, with that unit, and it'll help some of the ball movement, and it might get guys like Melo, Gary Trent Jr., Rodney Hood better shots. So I agree from that premise that I want to see him play with the bench lineup, but don't gotta take him out of the starting lineup to do that. Maybe just take him out 5 minutes into the game, and it's you still keep him as a starter so it doesn't mess with his psyche as much, and then you sub him back in with the bench lineup, kind of stagger it that way. Maybe Kanter ends the half playing, plays the last 6 minutes of the half, and Melo's out of the game by that point because Melo's playing with the bench unit. Maybe you stagger Kanter's minutes a little bit, and Kanter can play with Rocco and Derrick Jones Jr., Dame and CJ, whatnot. And it's a better fit in that regard. So yeah, I think you can accomplish him playing with the bench without taking that risk. So yeah, I understand the premise of it. I just think you could accomplish that without taking the risk of completely messing up his psyche.
Yeah.
So
it might be something to look at if they continue to struggle, though, both units.
I don't expect Stotts to do that, though. I expect Stotts to stick to exactly what he's been doing and not adjust,
But Stotts hasn't had a problem with centers getting the brunt of his like fury or whatever. Like for some reason, like he killed Myers, he killed Nurkic at times. He got mad at Whiteside several times. Yes, I don't know.
CJ's comment, Blockboy has CJ's comment. He says, I absolutely hate CJ's comment. We won some close games. We've been blown out. We've done both, but at the end of the day, we're 2-2. I don't like that comment either. I don't like that. And CJ, that's kind of CJ's attitude. It's like, dude, we got blown out. Our defense was terrible. You should be frustrated with the way we played defense today, and you should be going into the damn film room or into the damn gym and have some pride and want to improve it. But it's like, oh, when we've been blown out and we're 2-2, like what are we trying to contend? Contenders aren't satisfied with being 500. I know we've played tough teams. I wouldn't really call Houston a tough team, but we were literally one shot away from being 1-3 right now. And how can you be okay with that? Like, we were one shot away from being 1-3, man. That's not okay. There's some serious issues, and you should be frustrated with these issues and be inspired to fix them. But it's almost like a complacency thing where it's just like, oh well, we were 2-2, it's fine. I hate that type of attitude. I don't want that type of attitude. That type of attitude is a loser's attitude. You wouldn't see LeBron saying that. You wouldn't see, yeah, LeBron ain't saying that after a blowout. Giannis ain't saying that after a blowout. Kawhi ain't saying that after a blowout. Like, the top players in the league aren't saying that after a blowout. Like, honestly, like, that's the attitude that I feel like this team adopts a little too much, you know, and you kind of see it when they get up by 12 and then immediately blow a lead. It's just complacency. It's just, there's too much complacency around the team, and there's just too much of, oh, well, we're 2-2, we're fine. No, we played terrible tonight. It's not okay that we got blown out by 23 points. That's not okay. Like, yes, we played tough teams, but we got blown out tonight. You can't be okay with that. You cannot be, oh, well, we got blown out, but we're happy with being 2-2. Like, it's fine. Like, well. You can't have that type of attitude. You got to be frustrated that you got beat by 23. You have to really want to improve the flaws that they showed in this game. And you have to attack those flaws and improve them. But CJ is just too complacent, and you see it like in regards to his lack of defensive improvement too, because he hasn't really like attacked that and really seemed to have improved that at all. So yeah, I have an issue with that comment.
So Mitchell says Anthony Davis said that 2 days ago. He said we're 2-2 and we got to get better from here. That's not the same. First of all, second of all, they just won a championship. He can say whatever he wants.
Yeah. Also, he's not the top. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So yeah, that's the thing.
This goes back to my point earlier. They won in LA, so they're thinking, oh, great. We beat LA, so if we lose to the Clippers, it's fine because we went 1-1 in LA. That's really good against both LA teams. Instead of, oh man, we beat LA. Now we have a chance. Let's hammer down and beat the Clippers too and go 2-0. I don't want to go home 1-1 now that we won the first game, right? Mm-hmm. That's the attitude I want to see. I want to see, I'm pissed because we had a chance to beat both LA teams who are expected to be like two of the top seeds in the West, and we let that slip away tonight, and I'm mad that we're 2-2 tonight instead of 3-1. I want to hear that attitude out of our players.
That's a competitor's attitude. That's a true competitor's attitude. And yeah, you should be, after that big win against the Lakers, you should be inspired going into this game. Like, oh my goodness, we could sweep LA teams. We already took care of the Lakers. Now let's take care of the Clippers. Let's get it done. Kawhi's questionable? Oh, well, if he plays, let's still beat him. You know what I mean? Oh, Kawhi's playing? Okay, cool. Let's beat him. Like, that type of attitude is what I want to see this team adopt more of. And I have a problem because this team doesn't really seem to adopt that attitude. It's like, we'll have that attitude going into the Laker game, beat them. And then it's like, oh, well, we beat the Lakers. Okay, well, you know, whatever. Cool. Like, oh, we got blown up by the Clippers. Oh, well, at least we beat the Lakers. You know, that's how, it's just the mentality is frustrating for me. So I don't like comments like that, man. Like, I wish I could have a conversation with CJ and actually just, like, voice that. Like, I don't understand. Why wouldn't you be mad that you got blown out? Like, you had a real opportunity to build momentum and you guys came out with a complete dud. That doesn't bother you at all? Like, no, I don't know, man. I just feel like the most competitive players in the league wouldn't be okay with that.
They're 2-2.
God, man. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, CJ's a really good player. It's just like sometimes I feel like if he had a different level of drive, he would be better defensively and like he'd just be better all around. And I don't know. It seems like I mean, it's kind of hard to say this because he is such a good player, but it seems like he's like a little too content in certain situations that he shouldn't be content in. You know, he shouldn't be content with his defense like he has been. He shouldn't be content with being blown out by 23.
Oh, what are you even talking about? I heard him say that he's a really good defender.
Oh, yeah, exactly. See, that's the thing. Shout out CJ for the $2 donation. He says, love y'all channel. Really hope you guys blow up. Appreciate it, man. The support has been crazy so far this season. It's meant a lot to us. So, yeah, it's pretty nice. Ron Myers, I already warned you about this, but yeah, we're not going to take any toxicity, so goodbye. Anyway. Let's talk about who we got next. We've talked about Dame. We've talked about Giles. We don't need to touch on him. Do you want to touch on Carmelo, or have we said everything that we want to say about him?
I just want to say one thing about Melo. So I am going to be watching this every time he touches the ball. So not one person moved the entire time when he had the ball tonight. I felt like his first shot was good because he got a three-point line, pump fake, took a step in for a wide-open jumper. I'd like to see that. But the one time someone was open, it wasn't because they were moving. It's just because Zubac left Kanter wide open, and Melo, to his credit, found him for an easy bucket. But it's just driving me crazy. It's just all four guys just standing there, not doing anything. It's like, do something, like cut or run around the key, or like move to the 3-point line, or I don't know, just do something. And I'm going to continue to say this again. There's a lot of things I'm going to continue to say, but like I can't fault Melo for taking a bad shot when that seems like what our offense is. It's just like, okay, post up Melo and let him get a touch, and that's what they're being coached to do. Like that's what they're being told to do. Like I don't get it, like why you wouldn't open up some avenues to take advantage. Like he even got double teamed a couple times tonight, and we didn't really do anything to exploit that or like try to use him more to get some defensive attention or whatever. But I just want some off-ball movement when he has the ball.
Yep. Alex said he thought you lagged when you paused for a second.
Yep.
I was confused too. I was like,
no, that's literally what the players do when he has the ball.
They lag out. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they freeze. Shout out Kyle Wilson, $2 donation. He says CJ is okay with losing because he got his free McNuggets. Yeah, man, he's gonna go home and have some McNuggets and some of his own wine. So that's the life, isn't it? Yeah, the Collins is out for at least like a couple months. That sucks. We could touch on that on Blazers Uprise Live. I'll touch on that tomorrow. That's gonna be a solo stream for me, huh?
Yeah, and I just want to say this: anyone who says to waive Collins or to trade him is doesn't understand how trades work or how rosters work, because I mean that's like the dumbest thing we could do is just Collins. Like give up on him because he's hurt. I mean, it has nothing to do with his play or anything like that. He's got no trade value, so you don't want to just trade a guy like that.
The thing is, though, is $5 million could be useful in matching salary in a trade, so why would you waive him and get rid of that?
Right. That would be the only thing, is if it absolutely had to have a trade, like for a James Harden or whatever. I'm not saying that I want to do that, but like those kind of trades, if we need his salary to make it work, sure. But you wouldn't just trade him to get him off your roster, because players like that, it's all a matter of staying healthy. So like if he eventually recovers and is healthy, it's going to look foolish that we gave him away or cut him.
Yeah, that's very possible. It's not like he's It's not like he's Greg Oden-esque dealing with microfracture surgeries. It's not like It's not like he's Brandon Roy with no meniscus in his knee. He dislocated his shoulder on a fluke play. Unfortunate. Now he has an ankle issue with like a stress issue with his ankle, and that's why he was out to begin the season, and then they had to like kind of redo it, I guess. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's still based on that same stress injury. So there was a fluke play, and he's had a stress injury. That's it. That's literally it. Like, yes, he's gonna miss like almost 2 full seasons because of that fluke injury and that stress injury, but it's not like the type of stuff where you'd be like, oh dang, this guy's never going to be healthy. It's not like a Greg Oden situation. It's not like a Brandon Roy situation, Brandon Roy having to retire because he has no meniscuses in either of his knees. Is it menisci? How do you say that plurally? Did I say it right? But yeah, so it's not like that, man. So don't give up on him. We'll touch on it more tomorrow.
And well, here's the thing too. It's quite possible that the person who performed the surgery the first time didn't do it right or something, and that's why he was still having trouble. Mm-hmm. Or like you saw this with Kyrie a couple years ago where he had like an infection or something and they had to go in and clean it up or something. I don't think that's how you
what? I'm not gonna say that word, but oh my god, man!
But like, it's possible that like they didn't heal it right or didn't do the surgery, or maybe there was something they rehabbed him too soon or something. So we don't know that it's like just him getting hurt again. It's quite possible that it never fully healed and they had to fix something from the original surgery. But yeah, I'm not. It sucks, but there's a reason why we have a lot of depth, and we have a guy like Giles who plays the same position who's not even playing right now. So, like, I don't know how much it's going to really factor in. There's still a chance he could come back this season. If you go by the 4 months of his initial surgery, now it'll be like, late April, early May. So it's still possible that he could give us some minutes this season, but yeah, I wouldn't give up on him yet. This might actually be a blessing because if we get him for a lot cheaper, re-signed, and he is healthy in the future, we could have a bargain. Yeah. And then Blockboy's asking, can we get an injury exception and bring in another player? So if he is deemed to be out for the rest of the season, we could. However, those injury exceptions count against the salary cap, and we are right up against the tax line, so we wouldn't be able to bring in another player unless that for some reason they decided to go in the tax. But at 2-2, or like if we're hovering around 500, I doubt that they would change that philosophy from we're not going to be a tax team to let's just go in the tax to replace an injured player who probably won't even play anyway. So what does it matter?
Also, who would they bring in that's better than the players that are already playing? Like, people say backup point guard, but you'd have to cut Gary Trent Jr.'s minutes, which is just a no-go for me. Play CJ as the backup point guard. He's actually shown better distribution in point guard play this season than he did last year. Just roll CJ at the backup point guard, even if he's not the true prototypical backup point guard, and play Gary Trent Jr. more minutes, because Gary Trent Jr. is far better than any backup point guard we could bring in. So that's the thing. Like, we could. That's basically how those things work. You're on point with that, but who do we even bring in? It would put us into a tax. Like, we wouldn't use it anyways. Shout out Kyle Hack, says $2 donation. He says, pay your webmaster or else you've been warned. Man, I mean, do you want me to get into things? You want to talk about like due dates and how those were, pushed back, or no? Because, I could, but I would I thought you didn't want to, publicly in that regard. But so anyway, appreciate the $2 donations though. Appreciate that. So moving on, let's talk about who are we talking about next? Do you want to talk about Rocco, Derrick Jones Jr., Rodney Hood? That's pretty much like the last three we got to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know if I really care about
Yeah, see, like, let's talk about Rodney Hood. Like, Derrick Jones Jr., Robert Covington, they're good defensive players. Robert Covington hit a couple threes. That's nice to see. We know what he brings. Derrick Jones Jr. Didn't really have many cuts today, and nobody really found him when he did cut. So it just, wasn't an impressive game by his standards. So let's talk about Rodney Hood. Let's make this the last player we're going to talk about. 15 minutes played. He's been hovering around 15 to 16 minutes per game. I just want to see him get better shots, man, because he was phenomenal as a catch-and-shoot guy last year, or a catch the ball. Guys would run out on him hard, and he'd take a couple dribbles in and pull up. He's not getting those looks on the bench unit. He's not. And it sucks. And that's part of why I'd be down to take Nurkic out of the game early and sub him back in with the bench lineup and utilize his playmaking to maybe get a guy like Rodney Hood more shots to help him get going a little bit more. Because, like, he's more of a catch-and-shoot guy to me than, like, a break guys down off the dribble, create his own shot type of guy. He can do that, but he is, like, more of a catch-and-shoot guy, and he needs other guys to find him to be a catch and shoot guy. Like, it takes somebody passing you the ball for you to catch and shoot. And the problem is like the offense is stagnant and he's not really getting good looks. So yeah, I mean, like, it's not impressive in terms of like the scoring output, but some of that is just his guys. We're not able to get him good looks right now for whatever reason.
To be fair, there were plenty of games last year where he did start and didn't get any shots either. We talked about that often. How, like, why did Rodney Hood only take 4 shots this game? So it's I don't know. He's another guy. Same thing I said about Nurk, where it's just going to take time for him to get back to learning to trust the lay again and playing right. And he's a little bit slow laterally, just like Nurk is, and it's killing us on defense at times. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, like, I can't really blame. I mean, how many minutes did Melo play tonight?
Melo played. Let me pull it up. I'm not going to pull up the box score on the computer. I don't want ads to play automatically play.
I can bring it up real quick.
I think I'm gonna beat you. We'll see who can win. Melo played 25 minutes tonight.
Yeah, I feel like. I mean, I know a lot of the starters didn't play heavy minutes either because we were blown out, but. I feel like at times we're focused a little too much on bench guys when, like, our starters didn't play well either, and they're playing the majority of the minutes. So, like, it's hard to kill someone who only played 15 minutes as being the reason why we did lost, even if he was terrible on defense tonight. Because, like, I mean, he played 15 minutes. Like, it wasn't, like, the determining factor of the game at any point. But, yeah, I would like to see him get some clean looks from the corner, as I would Melo, as I would Trent, as I would. We have so many shooters on this team. CJ, I would love to give all these guys spot up. Like, why aren't we running them off ball screens, like, around the baseline, or that's the simplest play in the playbook, is taking a shooter from one quarter, having the 2 bigs, the 4 and 5, at both blocks, have him run through both screens and come out the other side and get a 3 on the other side. And yeah, so they might start overplaying that and sending like one of the screeners guys out there, and then the screener either has the smaller guy on him as a mismatch. If that's Melo or Nurk or Kanter, they could post up then and get an easy bucket over a smaller guy. Or sometimes 2 guys go with the shooter, and that leaves someone wide open. Or, if they start overplaying it, you can curl off those screens and not necessarily run to that 3-point line. But, I mean, that's just simple basketball. We never do those kind of things. Like, it just drives me crazy.
If it doesn't work, what... then you can just throw the ball to Melo in the post like they normally do in the first place. Like, if that doesn't work, So, yeah, I don't understand why there isn't more of that.
The funny thing is, like, yes, when you're playing against, like, J.J. Redick, teams prepare for that. So they're like, they overplay that and try to take that away from Redick, so he has to run, like, crazy around, like, 8 screens just to get open. But, like, if we did that once, like, I guarantee you it would be open the first time we did it, because the defense would be like, what the heck? Portland just ran this play? Like, they never run this crap. So, like, it would just be, it would catch the team off guard. So I would love to just see that in certain situations.
Yeah.
But instead it's just like, nope, let's just keep ISOing and run pick and roll, because that's all we know how to do.
Yeah, so that's funny. Yeah, we need more motion, man. We need more ball movement. This team looks great, and this team plays with a better rhythm when that happens. I agree with all that. Portlandia says we could easily go 13-3 or 14-2 in the next 16 games, and then we are all going to be excited. Well, we're going to be excited because the only way that happens is if we play a really good brand of basketball, right? If we play consistently like we did against the Lakers, we could go 13-3 or 14-2 over the next 16 games, because the next 16 games are weak. But we're going to be excited because this team will have to play a really good brand of basketball like they did against the Lakers in order to accomplish that. They're not going to play like how they did tonight and go 13-3. So that's the thing you're missing there with that.
Yeah, for sure.
But hopefully they go 16-0. That'd be dope. The thing is like I'm looking for. if they play the right style of basketball, they'll win a lot of these upcoming games. If they are stagnant and don't get good shots off because of that and don't adjust offensively and potentially run the wrong defensive schemes, then they could drop a lot of these games that they should win, that they're more talented than the other team in. So that's the thing. It just comes down to what type of basketball we play. It's as simple as that. That's what it comes down to. What type of basketball we play. And that's what we break down. What type of basketball we play. Oftentimes, the win or the loss is correlated with that.
Mm-hmm. I just want to get a comment I saw earlier that I copy and pasted so we could come back to it. It's from Maurice Fenton, and he said, in lockdown, I started watching basketball, and the Trailblazers is the team I decided to support. I don't know if that's good or bad. You're going to have some heart attacks now.
You're going to have some great moments and some really bad moments. It's a roller coaster ride here.
But he says, I've really been enjoying your content, and you're helping me learn more about the game after each stream. So thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, man. We try and break things down pretty in depth. Some people disagree with us, but we genuinely just try and have a detailed conversation about basketball. And it's always awesome to hear people say that we've helped them learn about the game. It's awesome to be able to be in this position to actually have a bit of a following and an audience to hear us ramble about basketball. It's definitely a privilege, and I'm definitely grateful for it.
Yeah, thanks for the support so far this season. It's been great. And to all our OGs who have been there through all the bad times.
Yeah, man. We're worldwide, man. We're worldwide. But yeah, so moving forward, you got 2 games against the Golden State Warriors. What do you think is most likely? 1-1, 2-0, 0-2?
Most likely is probably a split. The way they've been playing, I think we should expect them to win both.
Yeah.
I just don't have confidence from game to game that we can play well enough to win or go on a win streak. I hope I'm wrong and that we come out mad that we lost this game. Once again, the CJ comments don't have me very excited that they have that attitude to not want to lose any more games on this road trip. Like if they're thinking, oh, if we just split these 2 teams in Golden State, then we're 3-3 and we're doing good, right?
Yeah.
I don't like that attitude. So hopefully that's not the way they approach it. But yeah, so I don't know, but Dame could play really well in or I guess not in Oakland anymore, but Bay Area. He likes playing the Warriors, so hopefully he has some good games there, and they're definitely a beatable team. They're not anything to be scared about. Like you mentioned, Wiseman's looked good. Curry, has been up and down so far this season. Oubre and Wiggins have been really bad.
Yeah.
So I'm not scared of the Warriors at all. Draymond hasn't played either, so I expect us to win both games. I'm going to be disappointed if we don't, but I think realistically 1-1 is probably what's going to happen.
Even Portlandia said he's going to be upset if we don't go 2-0. What's funny is I feel like one of those games, Kelly Oubre is going to hit like 6-7 threes on us, even though he's been horrible from 3 this year. He's been horrible. He's been like, dude, like you might have better luck with Joel Prisbilla making a comeback and shooting threes. That's how bad he's been from 3. He's been I think he's like 1 for 30 or something like that. I'm curious. I'm gonna look it up right now, but he's been bad.
And the problem is, so he'll hit threes and be like, and everyone will be like, oh, of course he hits those against us. But it's because we're going to leave him wide open and get in a rhythm, and he's going to hit a couple easy shots early, and it's going to get him going, and then he's going to feel comfortable the entire game, and we're going to do nothing to take him out of the comfort zone. And so if he does have a big game, that's the reason why. It's because our defense doesn't put enough pressure on guys like that.
At some point, it's going to become a correlation with us. You know what I mean? It's not just, oh, everybody goes off against us. Well, that's probably a problem with us.
Yep. And I guarantee you we're not going to focus that much of our game plan on a guy like that. So he could absolutely go off against us. We're going to be more concerned about shutting down Curry, and that's going to leave. That's typically been our approach to games, is to take out the best players, which isn't a bad approach, but that's why a lot of role players do go off against us.
Yep. So, I mean, you just look at this next 7 games. Like, you got 2 against the Warriors, who have not been playing good whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Then we come home. We play at home against the Chicago Bulls, which is another really bad team. We play against the Minnesota Timberwolves, who won't have Karl Anthony Towns, correct? How long is he out for?
I think 3 to 5 weeks or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so like the Timberwolves without Karl Anthony Towns, that's a terrible team without Cat. Then you go on the road, play against the Kings, who have looked good. They're 3-1, but it's the Sacramento Kings. We're better than the Sacramento Kings. Then you come home and play against the Raptors, who are 0-3 and haven't looked good whatsoever this year. Like, all these games, I feel like we should probably be favored in. All these games are very, very winnable games. Like, if this team plays like they did against the Lakers, I could see them winning all 7 of these games. If they play like the right style of basketball and they play the right style of defense, the right defensive schemes, they buy in and play consistently that way. If they're like as inconsistent as they have been, they should still go 4-3 or 5-2. Like, even with a couple games like tonight, because these are some terrible teams. And honestly, I feel like we could play bad and still win some of these games because these teams aren't good and we just have so much more talent than, like, the Timberwolves without Karl Anthony Towns and the Chicago Bulls. So, like, this next 7 games I feel like is going to be telling. This schedule is so easy. Even after that, we play the Pacers at home, we play the Hawks at home, we play the Spurs at home, we play the Grizzlies twice in a row at home, we play the Knicks at home, we play the Thunder at home, we play the Rockets on the road, then we play the Bulls on the road. January is insanely easy in terms of scheduling. This month, I feel like, is going to decide our regular season. 16 games, and honestly, like, you have maybe one surefire playoff team in there, 2 if you count the Raptors, who are 0-3. Every other team is maybe a borderline playoff team. You got the Rockets; they've been, they're 0-2, and their whole situation is horrible. You got bottom feeders like the Knicks, Thunder, Bulls twice. Grizzlies haven't looked too good, and the Grizzlies will be without Ja Morant for those games. Most likely, it's the 20th and 22nd. They'll be without Ja Morant. Yeah, the Kings, borderline playoff team maybe. Warriors, borderline playoff team maybe, but they haven't been playing like it. Like, dude, these next 16 games, we should go 12-4 at least, to be honest. But I don't know. It's hard to predict it just because this team's so inconsistent.
I would say if we're less than 10-6 in the month of January, I think something is really bad.
Yeah, there's no reason we should go 9-7 over the schedule. No reason. Like, we need to win at least 10 of these games. There's no excuse to win less than 10 of these games. But you know what? If we went 9-7, people would be like, "We have a winning record. We're 11-9. Why is everybody so frustrated?" But these teams are horrible. They're terrible. This schedule is so easy. Even and we got injury luck in terms of like who we're not playing against. We won't have to play against Ja Morant for 2 games most likely because those games are in 3 weeks and he's out 3 to 5 weeks, and most likely we won't have to play against Karl Anthony Towns on the 7th. So yeah, I mean, dude, Draymond, I don't think is playing either of these Warriors games, but he might hurt them as much as he helps them at this point because he's been bad. So yeah, like, I want at least 12-4 because if we can be 14-6, I like that, and build some momentum. I like that. So 12-4 is like my realistic goal for this team. Yeah, like they're you could make the case that they're more talented than every team they play in the month of January. You could make that case. They don't play the Bucks. They don't play the Nets. They don't play either LA team. They don't play the Nuggets. They don't play the Jazz. Their schedule is so easy. So, I mean, hopefully we get things going here in the month of January. Hopefully we start 2021 off with a bang.
Yeah, completely agree. And 10-6 was like my absolute lowest they should be. But yeah, if we're hovering around 500 after 20 games, which would be exactly the end of January, I think that's when you might see some pressure on Stotts to be let go.
Yep. Shervin's asked Portlandia, he says, how would you feel if Stotts ran drop coverage against Steph Curry again? Portlandia says, I don't believe he will do that again, Shervin. But what if he does? Would you actually be willing to criticize him a little bit, Portlandia? Because there's no reason he should run drop scheme against Steph. There's absolutely no reason. Like, trap him, hedge him, whatever. You trap him, they don't got shooters. You got Andrew Wiggins. You got Kelly Oubre, who's been horrible from 3. You got James Wiseman, who can knock down a 3 here and there, but you're okay if James Wiseman beats you hitting 3s. You got Pascal out there, who's not a great 3-point shooter. Maybe Draymond's back. I don't know. He's supposed to be back sometime anytime soon, but Draymond hasn't been a good three-point shooter. Like, there's no reason to run drop coverage against Steph. Like, absolutely no reason to. So, I will be highly critical if that's what we come out doing. Hopefully Stotts knows. And I appreciate you willing to be objective and say that you will criticize that if it does happen, because, yeah, there's no reason to. I'm hoping Stotts is more adaptable than he has been in the past and comes out and doesn't run that. I feel like how he defends Steph Curry off the bat will kind of be telling for like how adaptable our defense might be for the rest of the season. Like if he comes out running a drop scheme, I'm just hopeless. You know what I mean? Like, but if he comes out adjusting like with a different defensive game plan, maybe there's a little bit of hope that he will do that a bit more this season than he did last season.
Yeah, I feel like you don't even, if you're gonna drop the big, like don't drop him. Like you don't have to hard hedge or trap, but don't drop him enough to where there's 2 or 3 feet between. Like just be up on your guy. You don't even have to like drop. You just be in the space right next to your guy as he comes around the pick, and then you're right there so he can't drive automatically. And yeah, sometimes some of the quick guards could get around him easier. Yeah, but like
they don't have good shooting.
Easy shots anyway. So like, what does that hurt if you let him occasionally get a drive to the basket instead of an open three? Because I'd rather another team shoot twos and get an occasional drive to the basket than just get all these wide open threes and shoot like over 50% from the 3-point line.
Yeah, and here's the thing with that: if that does happen and he's able to drive off that, okay, we didn't give him an open three. Okay, that's good. If we rotate successfully in help side, then we'll be fine. Against the Lakers, we did a good job of that. When they drove the lane, we rotated over, shut off the driving lane, and then rotated out onto shooters pretty well. So, like, if we do that, then, okay, yeah, he drives, but we send help and don't let him get an easy shot around the rim, and then if he kicks it out, if we rotate quickly and rotate right, we rotate out and take away the three-point shot as well, and that's just good defense. We don't let him get a good look that way. So, yeah, instead of just dropping the big and letting him run off a screen right into a wide-open three-point shot, yeah, you can't do that dropping the big. You gotta either, bring the big up to the point of the screen to provide more help to not let Steph Curry get clean looks from three, or you gotta hedge it, you gotta trap it. I'd throw all three at him. I'd throw all three. Keep him off balance and make it so that he has to make a different read almost every time he comes off a screen. He doesn't know exactly how he's gonna be guarded coming off of screens. I would definitely experiment with that, and but I'd come out with one defensive game plan. Stotts could pick any of those three. I'd be happy with hedging. I'd be happy with trapping. I'd be happy with just bringing the big up enough to not let him get open threes. And then if that works, then you can stick with it. If that doesn't work over the first 4 minutes, then switch to a trap or switch to a hedge or switch something different out of those three. I think that should be the game plan going into that game.
Yep, completely agree.
So, yeah, because, as Portland says, Curry's literally the only player that can beat us. Kelly Oubre could drop like 35 points or something, you know what I mean? But I with how bad that guy's been playing, I'm not expecting that.
We lost to a Golden State team last year that didn't have any of their starters, and Eric Paschall went off for like 35 points against us. So I don't say that.
Granted, we were playing. I think we were playing Bazemore, who was horrible. We had Melo, who was, he's not Robert Covington defensively. And then I think Whiteside missed that game too, so we were starting Tolliver at the center. So, like, the personnel was just pretty messed up. We shouldn't have lost that game, to be fair. We should not have lost that game. But, with this better defensive personnel, I feel like shouldn't be that way.
I just want to address something Portlandia says. He doesn't want anyone other than Stotts because he doesn't want to rebuild. For the last time, changing coaches does not mean you are absolutely giving up on the season or rebuilding. It means we are already at a point where we weren't doing good anyway. So, like, if you're trying to hold on to something that's not going well, I don't get that versus saying you don't want to rebuild because it's going nowhere if we fire Stotts. Something bad is happening on the court. We're losing games. So, let me just say, what could it hurt to get a new fresh eyes on the situation after 8 years?
Let me just say this. Nick Nurse won a championship in his first year as head coach. Ty Lue won a championship in his first year as head coach. Steve Kerr won a championship in his first year as head coach. I think there's probably another name I'm missing in there too that I might be blanking on. But
Vogel did his first year with the Lakers.
Yeah, Vogel did with his first year as the Lakers. He is LeBron and whatnot, but that's 4 coaches. Their first year with their team. 3 of them, their first year coaching being a head coach in general that won a championship. So I don't think it signals a rebuild if you end up changing the coach. I don't think that means rebuild. If you traded Dame for draft picks, that would mean rebuild.
Right.
That's like the only thing where that would mean rebuild is if we got rid of Dame. Like, this team is going to be, at least in my opinion, a playoff team if they have Damian Lillard on the roster, no matter who's their coach. Honestly, even if they have mediocre players around them, the personnel wasn't great last year, and there was a bunch of mistakes we made from a coaching aspect. Personnel wasn't good. Like, there was a bunch of problems last year. Still made the playoffs.
Any coach can let the other team shoot the highest percentage in the league against them and run an ISO heavy pick and roll offense. Like, any coach knows how to do that. So
yeah. I mean, yeah. So much of our offense is just one-on-one pick and roll. I feel like it's, you bring in a number of different coaches, it's not going to change. Mark Jackson, I feel like, honestly, this team wouldn't really play any different with Mark Jackson as head coach. Maybe, he's a little better motivator or something, but, like, I mean, I don't know. You could bring in a number of head coaches and honestly probably not see much of a difference in general. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully Stotts can improve, man. Like, I'd love to just like Stotts and like the job he does, and because he's a good guy and whatnot, and the players like him. So I'd like to, I would love to be fond of Stotts. It's not something where I want to be critical. Like, it's just, I'm gonna say what I see out there on the floor. That's the thing. It's like people try and act sometimes that we just love to be critical of Stotts. We don't love it, man. Like, I'd love to be positive. And I was like pretty encouraged given some of the things I heard this preseason. And I said that. And I said that I liked it. And I said that I was hopeful. So it's like I want to like the job he does. I don't want to dislike the job he does. Yeah.
Shervin said that the Clippers announcers were talking about how Stotts was extremely underrated and never gets the credit he deserves. See, that's a backhand like low key knock on the personnel, including Dame and CJ. Like, so they're basically saying that he's had bad teams and is underrated because he hasn't gotten the credit for leading those teams to the playoffs, whereas I completely feel the opposite, whereas I feel like he's been kind of carried by his star player, and
shout out Dame the GOAT, $3 donation, another one. He says, bring in Evan Turner. Hell no. He has retired. He's an assistant coach with the Celtics now, so don't have to worry about that, thank goodness. But yeah, so we're probably going to wrap up this stream. We will be live tomorrow. It'll be a solo stream. We'll try and do picks against the spread. My internet has been lagging during Blazers Uprise Live for whatever reason around like 3:30, 4 p.m. It's happened twice, so I don't know if that's just like two coincidences back to back or if it's going to happen tomorrow. So there might be some lag issues tomorrow. We'll wait and see. But if you want to tune in for our, I almost said our stream. It's going to be my stream. It's my first solo stream in actually quite a while. So that'll be interesting. If you want to tune into that, go subscribe to our secondary streaming channel. That's where those streams are on Mondays and Thursdays at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 6:30 Eastern. It's over on Blazers Uprise Live. I just put the link in the chat. The link is also in the description box below. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm almost at 1,000, so that would be cool to hit just cause. But you can follow me on Twitter at Tory Jones YT. You can follow Eric at HoopsJock. You can follow the channel at Blazers Uprise YT. Those are the Twitters. Other than that, really nothing left to plug. What do you got?
Can I plug my business real quick?
Oh, you can you can plug your business.
So if you need party supplies and you're in the Portland area, especially on the west side, come say hi to me at the party spot tomorrow. We are fully loaded with supplies for New Year's. I know you're not allowed to party big, but you can throw a little shindig and decorate your house and have fun at home. But I know some of you are still going to party anyway, so come get your supplies from me. Really appreciate it. And if you come in, please say hi.
Yep. We got to start plugging Eric's business more, man. He deserves it. So, yeah. You could maybe tweet that out too, maybe tweet that out. And you guys, if you follow him on Twitter or want to go follow him and want party supplies, you guys can hit him up on Twitter. You can hit us up on Discord. I'll plug our Discord again. Let me plug that real quick. Make sure it's the right Discord. I will post a link in the chat if you want to join our Discord. You guys can reach us through there too as well. You can send us messages on there. I check my messages on there more than I check my messages on Twitter, just because Twitter is a little more crazy and whatnot, and it's just, I don't know, it's nicer and easier to do messaging through Discord. I like Discord, so we use it a lot. CJ says, Tori, what's my business? I do DoorDash, so yeah. If I ever deliver you food or something, say what's up. Say you know me through Blazers Uprise. Make me feel a little bit famous or something. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. The game did not go how we wanted it to go tonight, but hopefully the Blazers can take this easy schedule going forward and turn it into a bunch of wins, and we can have a bunch of nice, chill, and positive post-game shows. That is my hope. And hopefully January is a good start to 2021.
And hopefully at least one of them is on the end of one of these type of games where we don't have to sweat it out or worry about being blown out.
I know.
And we're like, hey, that was a good game. We all played well. Everyone played good. And the defense was good. And we blew them out. This is exactly how I want us to play. And then not have as much negative thoughts or criticisms and stuff like that.
Yep, 100%. So anyway, thank you to everybody who donated. Dame the Goat, Andrew Miller, Near 012. I know I probably missed a couple of you. I know Jason donated as well. Apologies if I missed the shout out. If you donated tonight, I greatly appreciate it. Shout out to everybody for tuning in to the stream. We appreciate you guys tuning in, especially in a loss, and just letting us rant and vent about this type of stuff. Definitely makes me feel better being able to do streams after losses like this instead of just try and ignore them. Because I used to I'm very, very competitive and love this team, so losses definitely kind of suck. It's nice to be able to come on here and just talk basketball with you guys, win or loss. So we appreciate everything that you do for us. With that being said, Eric, anything left to get to?
No, I just want to echo that. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
And Happy New Year. Since I won't be talking to you guys tomorrow, have a nice stream, Tori. Sorry I can't be there.
It's all good, man. I'm kind of, I haven't done a solo stream in like months, so it's a little different challenge. I'm up for it, though. So, yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow. Eric will see you guys next year. I had to make that type of joke once. Yeah, so until next time, hope you guys have a good rest of your night. And until we see you again, as always, peace out.